Yeah, it's funny. I gave a little bit of a profile of sort of what I saw inside eBay in my book, The PayPal Wars. I talked about their culture being really different, that Elon and Peter and Max Levchin had built a culture of execution, of working hard and working fast and trying things out, listening to our customers and building things. eBay had quite the opposite. They had a very bureaucratic culture, which was a surprise for .com.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
Welcome. You are watching and listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, your host. Hey, it's mid-October. We made it so far without a crash. How much longer that will go, your guess is as good as mine. But got really interesting guest here for you, Eric Jackson. He is the author of the book, PayPal Wars. And he was in the thick of things when PayPal was becoming a major brand. And Elon Musk and his partners were fighting it out. Eric, it's great to have you on the show. So you found yourself kind of an observer and a participant to history, but you didn't really know it was history when that was happening until so much later.
That's right, Kerry, and thank you for having me today. Yeah, it was incredible to be part of the creation of PayPal in those early years and to look at all the people I worked alongside, not just Elon Musk, but also Peter Thiel and Max Levchin, who went on to start a firm. And I think he was the chairman of Yelp. Reid Hoffman, who started LinkedIn. David Sachs. Yeah, it's just the list goes on and on and on. So it's really incredible to look back at it. The founders of YouTube as well. So just to be in the middle of that was amazing. And it worked with all those people was also amazing. But yeah, you can never know that it was such a historical company right in the middle of it. You're just trying to do your job and also build a business.
I know. I was an attorney, and in 2000, I actually got called up by Donald Trump to handle some cases for him, not knowing that one day the guy was going to be president. So it's only when you connect the dots backward, as Steve Jobs said, that you see the significance of it. Hey, so in this place, this was before everybody made their billions, right? Elon eventually, I'm going to skip to the end, had a falling out with them and he left. But he was smart. He didn't burn bridges because they all became investors and they worked with him on his successive enterprises, SpaceX and Tesla and Boring Company and Neuralink. And I don't know if you could probably think of a couple others that I missed here. So you got these really strong personalities and they're kind of bumping heads together, but there must have been a measure of respect on all parts for them to wind up investing together and working together again.
That's absolutely right, Kerry. And you're right that there was some conflict, as there often is when you're trying to pursue anything worthwhile. And Elon, and just for context, Peter Thiel had started a company called Confinity, and that's the company that created this PayPal software. And Elon, whose office was just down the street, they were neighbors on University Avenue in Palo Alto. His company was called X.com. Now that name's going to sound familiar to viewers, even if they don't remember the original online bank that Elon had formed. They'll think of Twitter, and it was recently rebranded as X. So you can see a pattern there: SpaceX, X.com, and now Twitter. And so Elon had a vision for the company after the two companies merged, and it ran into some conflict with some other members of the team, and I'll be happy to describe that to you. But the point that you're making is that even though that happened, there was resolution, and there also was an understanding that, hey, we've got to all work together here. So Elon, to his credit, after leaving the CEO role, stayed a helpful, active member of the board. And I know that Peter Thiel, when he took over the CEO role, consulted with Elon on a number of things, especially around the exit strategy for the company. So they mended fences pretty quickly. And then in ensuing years, yeah, you're right. I know Founders Fund, which is a VC firm associated with Thiel, invested in SpaceX, among other investments. So you're right. That collaboration, continued, and fences were mended, and people work together to this day. There's still good relationships.
Right. So I find that interesting. So Elon's vision was this was going to be a global financial enterprise, basically take over the whole banking sector and do things more efficiently and effectively, faster, all this. Because before PayPal, it was really difficult to send money. You did have ACH transfers, I guess, at the beginning, and you had FedWire and some private bank wires, but otherwise to send peer-to-peer, for me to send $10 to you, Eric, was like enormously expensive and inefficient.
Yeah, people forget about that today, right? You've also got Venmo and Zelle and other options now today. It seems like it's so easy and ubiquitous. You can just pull out your phone and do it. But, 20 plus years ago, it actually was really quite hard. And with the dawn of the internet, with the dawn of the web, I should say, you started having online commerce, particularly for small businesses operating out of platforms like eBay. Well, that was great that they could do the selling online, but then to actually handle the payment, it was completely offline. People had to mail checks and money orders for things that were sold on eBay. And eBay, while the hobbyist idea was very popular, right, Beanie Babies and Pez dispensers, it was really small businesses getting on there and selling their merchandise that made it take off. But that was a pain point. It hurt everyone to have that lag in time, the inconvenience, the cost associated with it. Record keeping was worse. Disputes could arise. So PayPal showing up radically changed things for that market, but also had the potential to change it in a lot of other markets too. And this was the vision that Peter Thiel and Max Levchin had when they started Infinity, which was better known as PayPal, that they wanted to have a system that empowered people. That was a big and very important thing for them, Kerry. I remember the first week I got there, Peter, and I'd known Peter from my days at Stanford. He was kind of an alumni mentor at the time. And so he'd started this company. I'd stayed in touch with him. I was working in financial consulting. He told me, hey, why don't you come on board? We're getting ready to scale up. We're doing a venture capital round. We need you to start, and you should start really soon. So he actually convinced me to tell my respected employer that was a 100-year-old company, had 60,000 employees worldwide, that I should jump ship and leave to come work at this little startup. I didn't even know what my job would be. I just knew that they were going places. So, but I look a lot smarter than I am when I just say that the company I left was Arthur Andersen, and the company I went to, turned out to be a success. And students of history that might be younger than us will perhaps have come across the name Arthur Andersen. It was a big six accounting firm at the time, and it was taken down in the Enron scandal just a couple years after I left. So
good move.
Good timing is everything.
All right.
But I'll mention that vision, though, that Peter and Max had for PayPal. It was to empower people. This was, through the mid to late 90s, you had currency contagions in much of the developed world. You'll remember that, right? That this recurring problem, of countries that have been manipulating their exchange rates and their interest rates. You can't control both. You can only do one, and they came under fire and frequently had to defend their currencies, have a run on the currency, and as a result, a lot of times these countries would actually lock up the deposits of their own citizens in bank accounts to keep pressure off the local currency. And so they'd eventually get screwed, as the common man always does, because they'd unleash this hyperinflation and it would destroy their savings. It was sitting there untouchable. So it was a pretty bleak environment. And Peter and Max realized, hey, something like PayPal that can empower people to move their money and give them instant access could be a game changer around the world, and also give people a lot more freedom and control. So there's a real vision of freedom there that was the origin for PayPal.
Yeah, and now we've got hundreds of different apps, peer-to-peer transfer, money transfer, and all that. And we got cryptocurrencies as well.
Crypto, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, so you knew all the parties, all the major players here. And so even though that Elon left under maybe less than positive circumstances, he made the decision to leave. He wasn't fired, was he?
Well, it was a pretty contentious. I guess it depends who you ask, right? So the things came to a head because Elon is very sure of himself. I think that's not going to be a shock. You mentioned you're familiar with the Walter Isaacson book on him, and I'm sure those of your listeners that have followed his career know that he's pretty confident. So his vision was he wanted to relaunch the PayPal platform, this is after the merger of the two companies, relaunch it and brand it with the X brand. And like you said, he wanted to have a financial platform that was kind of a one-stop shop that handled everything. This is not too different from his vision for Twitter that he's in the process of implementing. And because of that, though, he had all development frozen on PayPal. He wanted to recreate it, build it on a different platform. I won't go into all the details, but it's like a Unix versus Windows NT debate at the time, like which software do you have it run on top of? And so the point was that he actually was focused on this big overhaul at a time when the company was burning $10 million a month. This was in 2000 after the dot-com crash. It was harder and harder for startups to raise money. We had to get our business plan working, but we were losing millions of dollars every month due to fraud. We had people, they weren't hacking PayPal. They were just walking in through the front door and using it to either trick people to send them money or taking stolen credit cards that they got from the black market and then redeeming, cashing them in and taking money out of PayPal. So we had like really significant fraud losses, like 300 basis points to fraud. And then we also were losing money on credit card fees because people were using credit cards to fund these payments. So we had to turn the business model around. Instead, we were stuck trying to recreate the wheel. And that was a big part of the debate that led to Elon leaving. But again, I want to emphasize he played a productive role after he left. So Peter took over and decided to keep the PayPal name, which a lot of us, myself included, thought made sense at the time because it had some brand power, some brand cachet already. And Elon stayed a member of the board. And then amusingly, years later, bought that X.com domain from eBay. This is after eBay acquired PayPal. They owned PayPal for about a decade and a half before spinning them off as a separate company again. So that domain, that X.com domain, eventually found its way back to Elon. And he's dusted off his old playbook, and he's seemingly on the road to implement or try to implement his new model.
Hey, were you at PayPal when eBay acquired it?
I was, and it was a big shock in a way because they had talked with us a couple times about buying the company, but it never worked out. So I think most of us had already written off that it would happen. But PayPal at that point had gone public. PayPal actually had the first IPO after 9/11 for .com. That was a pretty significant thing. That was back in February of 2002. And it was trading, but the market was weak or pretty soft at the time. And it was, we increasingly had a couple different pressures on our company. So first of all, we had a high dependence on eBay. We had about 60-70% of our payment volume was coming from sellers on their platform. And eBay wasn't that fond of PayPal. They had an in-house tool called BillPoint that they launched with Wells Fargo. And they tried to preference them, but it was just an inferior product. So the market had chosen PayPal. But that's a bit precarious, even though there's some mutual dependency there. And then second thing, we had regulators coming after us left and right, Kerry. It was amazing. And maybe it's not that surprising because we've seen some of this play out with crypto in recent years. It's kind of shoot first, ask questions later for a lot of regulators. and they're not necessarily concerned about the welfare of the people. They're more concerned about doing their job. PayPal was novel tech, like you mentioned. People didn't really know what to make of it. So instead of working with the company to make sure that safeguards were taken and people's money was safe, which it was, a lot of regulators said, well, we don't know what you are, so we're just going to come after and get you. And for example, the state of Louisiana, of all places, sent PayPal a cease and desist notice. And it was just ridiculous because they didn't know what our classification was. Is it a bank? Is it a money transmission service? So, they sent us a cease and desist letter. Well, we shared that information with all of our customers from Louisiana, telling them that they were about to be cut off from their valuable PayPal account. But if they thought that was a bad decision, here's the phone number of the regulator. So the next day, their switchboard melted down, and they recanted. They decided to work something out with us. So that was, but that was it. That one turned out well for the company, but we had a lot of other pressure on us as well. So that's what drove us to be acquired and accept the offer from eBay.
Yeah, then eBay just could never figure out what to do with PayPal.
Yeah, it's funny. I gave a little bit of a profile of sort of what I saw inside eBay in my book, The PayPal Wars. I talked about their culture being really different, that Elon and Peter and Max Levchin had built a culture of execution, of working hard and working fast and trying things out, listening to our customers and building things. eBay had quite the opposite. They had a very bureaucratic culture, which was a surprise for .com, but they were reorging every year, so people didn't know like who their next boss was going to be. They wanted, you had an incentive inside to attach yourself to as many projects as possible to be visible. It made things very bureaucratic, lots of meetings, lots of slide decks. Instead of doing a numerical analysis on a spreadsheet to make your case and a few bullet points, it was kind of the way we did things at PayPal. Hash things out in a week or two. With eBay is always, endless round of discussions. So I could tell from the culture early on that it was going to be pretty different. And as a result, a lot of the good, a lot of folks at PayPal, like myself, left in the year or two following the merger. And interestingly, though, because PayPal had a better culture, a lot of eBay's people came over to PayPal, the ones that were a little bit more, brighter and more ambitious. So they had decent talent come in for a while there, but over time, PayPal just grew and became bigger than eBay, and they had to spin the company off again.
Yeah, they just never seemed to know what they were doing, was it? Now they go back to have their own payment system, and actually seems to work better. I still think PayPal's probably better, but, interesting. So everything old is new again, Kerry. I feel like we're in the 1970s. So, why not go back to the late 90s on eBay? Why not? So now you look where Musk is. All right. You look where the others are. Basically, they're still working together. Does this all surprise you?
No. In fact, I think with hindsight, it makes a lot of sense. But even at the time, there was a strong bond for all of us. I call my book The PayPal Wars for a reason. It was really hard to get this company started. It was tumultuous, and like any experience, it's a shared experience for people. You bond, you learn to trust each other's judgment. You can appreciate, going through the ups and downs. We had a culture that really encouraged people to innovate, take risks, but also, be accountable. If you make a mistake, just own up to it and move on. So that kind of culture, I think, as well as just the really good people that got recruited. I mean, think about people like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and Reid Hoffman, who started LinkedIn, Max Levchin, who started a firm. All these people, they've been successful because they are real visionary leaders, and that's evident to people that are looking for a place to work. So A talent attracts A talent, and so I think that was another ingredient as to why this PayPal mafia, as people like to call it, is formed.
So one of the things Isaacson says in his book about Musk is he's similar to Steve Jobs and his lack of delicacy or diplomacy in dealing with people. He He sees bad code, he just says, that sucks, and do better. But he gets people to do better than they ever believed that they could. He gets more out of them than they ever believed they had to put out.
I think that's a reasonable description. Elon was very, very demanding, not necessarily in a bad way, because that is part of what the company needed. And he wanted the company to move faster and really overcome some of the hiccups that came around from merging two companies together. So that kind of it is a little ruthless, I guess you could say that. But I mean, the flip side of it is that's who he is. That's how he's gotten to where he's gotten. And nobody should have any expectations of the contrary at this point. But you can see it even early in his career, even back in those PayPal days. A lot of those attributes were already there. And, for good reason. I think it's served him well in the years since.
Yeah. So if you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs, huh?
And he's not afraid to.
That's for sure. All right. Well, hey, it's been a fascinating discussion here. I guess we find PayPal Wars wherever fine books used to be sold.
Yes, and it's on Amazon. Yeah, Amazon and Barnes & Noble, their website, Books a Million. You can go to paypalwars.com to learn more and find links to all the retailers.
Excellent. And that link is in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. When you're there, sign up for your free newsletter. If you got a question for Eric or myself, hey, you're getting a real insider's perspective here. A lot of people say they were on the inside. Eric really was before Elon Musk was Elon Musk. I mean, I know somebody owns a hedge fund, well-known household word, worth probably 20, 30 billion now. And I always refer to and say, I knew him before he made his first billion. And that's certainly the case for you, Eric.
I'm gonna borrow that, Kerry. Thank you.
All right. Hey, just give attribution. It's okay to borrow, always attribute it. But no, I'm just kidding. But hey, you knew Elon before he made his first billion, before he made his first 10 billion, before he made his first 100 billion, right? So that's something. And you haven't forgotten him either. That's the one takeaway I get from people who know Elon from the early days. You don't forget this guy.
Absolutely not. He and also Peter Thiel are memorable and have done a lot for the country.
All right. On that note, hey, questions, comments for Eric, myself, KL@KerryLutz.com will get you an answer. Eric, been a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Kerry.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.